Hey guys, and welcome to Suit Up, the Warframe frame review series. So Rhino week's drawing to an end, but I think it's time for the main event. We've looked at all of his augments, it's time to look at the frame himself. Now the parts of the frame can be acquired from what I consider to be the best designed boss in the game, which is Gextroll. You can find him on Venus Fossa. Like all frames, you require the new optics, chassis and systems. The blueprint is able to be bought from the market, or you can just buy the whole thing plus a Warframe slot and a potato for platinum as well. The Prime version, however, it's currently vaulted and can only be bought from the trade chat from other players, so this might cost a considerable amount until he returns. But how does the Prime frame stack up stats wise? Well, it comes with 300 health, 450 shield at rank 30. It's pretty average really, 150 energy, 1.0 sprint speed, nothing particularly special there. However, the one area where he does stand out a bit is with his armor amount of 275. That's actually pretty decent. It's the 6th highest in the game. So it's where his skills are that make him stand out, right? Well, like all frames, that's absolutely true. Starting off with this first one, Rhino Charge. When activated, Rhino will charge forward, ragdolling any enemy in his path out of the way. He will charge over a distance of 12 meters at 48 meters per second, hits all enemies within a 2 meter radius of him, dealing 650 impact damage. If you recast the charge during the window that is indicated on screen, it is at base 1 second. The energy cost will be reduced by 50% and the damage increased by 200%. Any cast after that will increase the damage by 400%, the range by 150% and reduce the cost by 75%. Using Rhino Charge while having Iron Skin active will also give you a 100% chance for a blast proc, and will deal double damage to any enemy that is affected by Stomp. Now that's a lot to remember, but in addition to that, damage is affected by strength, range by range mods. This is a properly solid first ability with some insane scalability. Forget about the damage for a minute, because naturally that doesn't scale. Knockdowns, however, blast procs, ragdolls, all do scale infinitely, giving this ability some great crowd control utility at higher levels. So while no, you might not be killing units at those higher levels with it, you are still able to keep groups of enemies off their feet, disrupt heavy targets like heavy gunners or bombards. It's got some fantastic utility to it, along with a fantastic augment. All round it's a very solid ability, and it's always fun to watch someone launched across the room ragdolled. It is a brilliant thing. As is his second ability, Iron Skin. It's pretty much what he's known for. What Rhino does is cast a protective skin on himself with 1200 base health. After that, additional health will be added, which is Rhino's total armor multiplied by 250%. When you activate Iron Skin, you immediately turn invulnerable for 3 seconds. Any damage taken during that time will be turned into health and added to the Iron Skin. Self damage does nothing here, so no activating it and then shooting yourself in the foot with an Ogris. Although activating it and then standing in front of something like a Void Laser, that will add to the hit points, and it will add quite a lot to the hit points. The base health and multiplier can be increased with power strength mods, but invulnerability duration is not affected by duration mods. This ability is fantastic. Really, really strong, although it does start falling off towards higher levels without some augment magic. The ability to ignore knockdowns, staggers, laser barriers, disruption doors, energy drain from disruptors, all procs like slash procs. I mean, it's fantastic on its own. It helps to increase Rhino's survivability a massive amount and can be taken to some ridiculous numbers with those augment synergies. It is one hell of an ability. The third ability he's got available, Roar. Rhino will roar, basically, buffing any ally within 25 meters. Those that are affected by the roar will have an extra 50% bonus damage to basically everything for the next 30 seconds. Duration mods will increase the duration of the ability. Power strength will increase the bonus damage. This ability doesn't add power strength, only damage, so you cannot buff Iron Skin by using roar. This is a very strong buffing ability, to the extent where I've run roar buffing rhinos in certain missions before. It's a very powerful ability, both solo and in a group. It's such a simple ability, but it is hugely effective, as is his final ability, which is Stomp. Rhino will slam his foot into the ground, dealing 800 blast damage initially, and then another 800 shortly after in a 25 meter range around him. All enemies hit by Stomp will have a slow applied to them, reducing them to 97.5% of their original movement speed for the next 8 seconds. Damage is increased with power strength, range with range mods, and the time they are slowed with duration mods. This is such an underrated ability. When you think of crowd control, you think of Molecular Prime, Disarm, Chaos, but rarely do you think of Stomp. Stomp has such a good range when modded for, and fantastic duration as well. Unlike M Prime or Disarm, Stomp stops them from doing anything at all. They're not shooting, they're not moving. As an option for hard crowd control, he is very overlooked in that respect. It's also worth noting that Rhino's got an innate passive ability called Heavy Landing, so that if he falls enough distance, he will send out a shockwave when he lands, dealing a bit of damage and knocking down enemies in a 6-meter area around him. But like any frame, stats and abilities are all well and good, they'll only take him so far. How do I mod him to get the most out of him? Well, like most frames, I've got more builds for him than I have configs. More config slots, please, 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 please. I've also added 4 formers to him to be able to fit these builds. First build's my general everyday use. It uses Reinforcing Stomp, the same build from last night. Fleeting and Streamline for efficiency, Cunning Drift and Stretch for range, Prime Continuity to keep the duration on my Stomp up and also for my Raw, Transient and Steel Fiber to give me some decent help to my Iron Skin, Prime Flow for energy storage, and then Reinforcing Stomp. This gives a very decent all-around build without heavily sacrificing your other abilities to specialise too much. These builds help me complete the last 3 sorties with only a couple of Iron Skin drops, so it's one that I've personally found to be extremely effective. If you do prefer Iron Shrapnel over the Reinforcing Stomp, you can also substitute that straight into the build as well. Iron Shrapnel actually is my second build, although it doesn't really deserve to be treated as one because all it is swapping out a single mod. This is my low level running build for when I'm just messing around in fissures, exploding my Iron Skin to kill all the groups as they come through the fissure. Pretty damn fun, and a build I've been really enjoying. The second build is very, very specialised for Iron Skin. We have both Ironclad Charge and Iron Shrapnel on here, Transient Fortitude, Power Drift and Blind Range for as much bonus for the Ironclad mod, as well as more health for Iron Skin, and also the bonus to the armour. Put that as high as possible. Streamline and a max fleeting to counter the efficiency loss from Blind Rage. Stretch to have a higher chance of hitting more enemies when we charge, and then Steel Fiber for more armour to your Iron Skin. This build, provided you do it right, you only ever really need to cast Iron Skin once per mission pretty much. You can get some ridiculous numbers from it, but this is at the cost of ruining your Raw and your Stomp. If you want to try and salvage some duration, you could remove Fleeting and put something else like Intensify in there. This gives more duration on your Raw, more duration on your Stomp, as well as more power strength for those Iron Skin multipliers. If you are going to be removing Fleeting, I would recommend running Arcane Energize or Zenuric, so that you can have the energy to recast if your Iron Skin ever does drop. Third build is pretty much a build around a maximised range Stomp. Overextended, Cunning Drift, Stretch for max range, Speed Drift and Natural Talent to cast faster, Streamline for a bit of efficiency, Prime Flow for energy storage, Prime Continuity and Constitution for duration. This is pretty much a build just for supporting in more static type defense missions like excavation, mobile defense, defenses. However, it can actually work in a lot of situations purely because the amount of range is ridiculous. 62.5 meters, where everything has their movement reduced for nearly 15 seconds. It is one hell of a strong build. As is the final build, which is basically my buffer build. It's built to be part of a team, usually with a Trinity, to boost damage outputs, especially for setups like Berahenia XP farming. Steel Fiber to work with Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, Intensify and Power Drift. We've got as much power strength as possible. The Steel Fiber is just there to help boost our Iron Skin, so we'll just put that on at the start of the mission. We've got Cunning Drift and Stretch on there for the range, Streamline for a little bit of efficiency, and Prime Flow for energy storage. This boosts the bonus damage by a ton and gives your team a huge amount more damage output. Like I say, it's probably more than likely you're going to need a Trinity to really make this build shine. So, what do I think of Rhino? What do I think of his Prime? Is it worth taking and maxing it out? And you know what? I do. Rhino, for as long as I can remember, has had this thing attached to him of being the noob frame, or being the casual frame, especially when way back in the day Iron Skin was duration based and basically made him invincible. A lot of this was because of the frame you unlock first after your starter frame, because he's on Venus. But you know what, despite this noob frame image and people's reluctance to play him because of that, he's a very solid, capable frame. With Ironclad Charge, Iron Shrapnel, you can turn him into one hell of an insane tank, able to resist all knockdowns, status procs, or the nasty annoying things that can get frustrating on any other frame. It doesn't even phase him, but played well, he has an infinitely scaling first ability, insane survivability from his second ability, team buffers his third ability, and one of the strongest crowd control abilities in the game as his fourth. Rhino has it all. It's crazy just how effective he is as a frame when you go back and know what he can do. I've never been much of a Rhino player. I've always viewed him as only good for his iron skin, to be honest. But this last couple of weeks where I've really got into depth with him again, I've realised just how effective a frame he is when played well. It's really changed my view on him, and I'll be definitely using him a bit more often now I've played a load with him again. The last 3 sorties have been the easiest I've done. My iron skin barely ever drops throughout those entire sorties. I've been very, very impressed, and there's been very few frames that I've had this many specific builds for. So that on its own should show his versatility. Give him another shot. I've been very surprised at his performance. Maybe you will be as well. So I hope you've enjoyed Rhino Week. I'd love to hear what you think about the frame, whether you use him often at all or not at all. I'd also love to hear what you think of the Frame Week idea. Pop them in the comments below and I shall try to respond to what I can. However, for now, I shall see you at the stream on Saturday and also the stream on Sunday. I'll link the video in the description below to that and also the modulars I've done this week. Feel free to hit that like button, sub if you like my content, and I shall see you in the next video.